Good afternoon. This is the Elliott Wave daily update for the NASDAQ 100 being recorded on Thursday, October the 9th at 3:23 p.m. Pacific Daylight Time. Um, I need to go back to actually my larger chart, actually the daily, to show you that I have returned the degree back down to where it was before I moved it yesterday. And that being that it is the minuet 3 and 4, that running 4 that completed back at the beginning of September was minuet wave 4. That I had moved up to here along with the 3 up to there. Upon reflection, when I took a look, it indeed was the fifth wave here that was putting in the diagonal triangle, and it did, and I believe it completed today. I'll go over that in just a moment. So when I did a little bit of reflecting on it, I thought, no, I didn't need to do it all the way back up like I did, just keeping it there, but to expand that um, my minuet fifth wave, and that it's the one that extended, and it was the sub minuet within the minuet fifth that actually turned into that diagonal. So that's what I'm going to demonstrate there. These left tails, again, are going to get adjusted because what I've done now is I've put in for that minute third, again, if it completed today, which I believe it did, but we're going to see because of how the market just reopened in Globex and where it's trading. And that could kind of toss things a little bit. Not sure. So we're going to just include everything. So right now, I am back showing that. I'm going to drop this back down to the hourly chart, pull it open, and we can see there's the 3, the 4, and all is a part of that minuet fifth wave and the completion point for that minute third. So this is the fifth within the fifth, and there's 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 5. Now, dropping it down to the 15-minute chart, this, I can get 5 out of it, but it's not the best looking 5. I can go 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 3, 4, 5, and then put a 1 on it. In the outside chance that I'm a little bit off on that, it can be A, B, and then a C wave down, and it could be the B wave of this sub minuet wave 5 of the minuet wave 5. So, keeping all that in mind, I've included where our markers are. Number one, if this is wave 1 and we're looking at wave 2, what can we look at? Well, 618, which we've come up and met now, drifted back down below, is at 25,304. The high so far is 308, totally allowable. If a second wave can actually go up to 786, it can go up as close as it wants up to 25,394, which is the high for that minuet wave 5. But it can't do is exceed it because then it's not correcting, this wave 2 would not be correcting wave 1, cannot exceed the starting point, and that's the starting point. So if it does creep up and start heading towards that and get above it, well, then I believe what we got going on is the continuation of this diagonal, and therefore the marker would be 100%. And that is where this fifth wave would be equal to the first wave. Let me take it back out so you can see that. And there is the first wave. And then we mark it over to the fourth wave, and then we get that. And so if it does exceed, if we have one more time where this market is going to go flying higher, which it can, because what do? We go, look, AMD trading higher. Apple, meh, trading unchanged. NVIDIA, sometimes it just really gets me. NVIDIA is also, nah, unchanged. So I'm not really sure what they're stepping back in for, other than AMD. And so we'll just kind of wait and see how this all pans out overnight and what we get from that. So again, presenting both sides. Get a little bit of continuation. If we get a down, an A and a B, we get the A and a, go back to the 15-minute. We get an A, we come down in a B wave, or I've got A, B, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, C, and that completes wave 2 here. But if that's the case, I know it's Globex, so we got to wait. So once we start getting more markets engaged with trading the US, that could be it, and we just turn and start to head lower. It may have to wait all the way to when Europe opens. That seems to be when we get some of our changes. It's overnight. Um, and I'd be looking then for the third wave to begin. And again, being a third wave, what are we looking for? We're looking for it to be the longest and the strongest. So once it begins to sort of start breaking down below, at least in the 15-minute chart, these moving averages, and start changing that narrative back to a more negative picture. And again, depending on where our uh, gamma levels are going to come in tomorrow morning, uh, we'll see if they start breaking through those to the downside. Again, we saw today, and mostly we got to pay attention to those ETFs, the gamma levels in those ETFs, because that's where it occurred first. And then secondarily, then it comes into the index itself, where we started to break up. And that happened here and here and here. And this was the bouncing around it in the Qs, actually. And then we did another clean break, and we ended up coming all the way down, put a marker in, put a low in, and then they just bought it back in that last hour. So enough said there. So again, coming up in a wave 2, we've kind of met already 0.618. Next up would be 0.786, which is 25,343. I'll add one more because it's pretty popular in land of the algorithms. And that's going to be 882, and that's at 25,366. Close enough there, and it can truly get just below it if it wants to, just cannot exceed it. Cannot exceed it. Wave 2 cannot exceed the starting point for wave 1. If it does, let's use some logic here, then it's not a wave 2, because wave 2 corrects 1. Okay, so having that, now if we do end up exceeding it, then we know that we're in, again, the C wave up for the ABC to put in this fifth wave. And that marker actually comes in 100% at 25,537. Now, you're going to look from here. That's 233 points. Can it do it? Yep, it can. Absolutely, it can. Turns around and just starts to really rally all these stocks that the market kind of slipped on today. And tomorrow is an expiration. And we don't have any federal economic data coming out. So what we have tomorrow, I think we have consumer sentiment coming in at one point, and that I think is really about it. Outside of, we still have some banking conference going on somewhere. So at 9:45 a.m., Chicago Fed president will be giving opening remarks, I believe, at this conference. 10 a.m. is consumer sentiment. That's preliminary. And then at 2 p.m. is supposed to be the monthly U.S. federal budget, but not going to come out. So we're going to be reliant on expiration. And so again, weekly. And as I said in the update for the S&P, what these expirations are kind of turning into is very call heavy. We saw it very heavy coming into the September expiration. I think a lot of that got rolled out, and it may roll out until the October expiration, which is a week from tomorrow. So here's some things going on. We have tomorrow's expiration, could be very active depending on where things are going to get pinned and what's expiring in call wise. And so I'm going to be looking for a lot of activity in the Mag 7 because that seems to be the dominant mover at the moment. So, and I think there's a lot of call heavy because we saw again the volatility. Anytime they start to sell volatility and they do it extensively, it kind of just brings me around to like they're doing the risk on trade, which is buying, selling the VIX and buying the underlying volatility. Now, also on the 14th, we start, so that's next Tuesday, we start earnings, third quarter earnings season. And so the big banks usually come out first now. And so we'll begin to get at least a feel for not only the banking sector, but usually they, at least at JP Morgan, Jamie Dimon talks about his thoughts on the economy and moving forward. So I think that we'll get some of that from a lot of the banks, and then we'll start moving through on the stocks. Now, when it comes to the Mag 7, I believe the first one that's really going to come out is going to be Tesla, and can't remember what comes out with them. But there's two that come out together. It's Tesla and something else. And might bring that back for the either tomorrow's weekly or the latest that'll come out is on Saturday. And so, but I think Tesla is on the 22nd of October. So I think they were first out of the Mag 7. So I think, we got the balance all kind of coming up between at least the 23rd, 24th and onward. And NVIDIA is the last out of that group. And they're reporting, I believe, on November the 19th, I think was the number that came to my mind. In any case, we've got a lot of earnings to get through. And I think that's where we'll start to see more downside pressure as we start to get, again, a deeper look into now that these tariffs have been in effect. What is the effect on, along with the government shutdown, on expected employment, on prices, um, and everything of that nature? So a lot of data to factor in. But tomorrow it's all about expiration and where things are going to get pinned for that expiration. And that's not just the index, that's also the underlying. Um, the the gamma levels I'll be updating tomorrow. Today, again, they did come into play, as I said, on both sides. So, and particularly in the Qs, because that's the one I'm watching because I trade the NASDAQ. Boy, they react immediately on a move below volatility trigger, back above volatility trigger, below. We got a reaction, which is why we got a lot of like whoop, up, whoop, down, whoop, up, because it was just moving back and forth around gamma levels. So good to keep in mind when if you're trading the Qs or you're trading the NASDAQ somewhere in there. All right, that's actually going to be it for today. And our next update will be tomorrow morning.